Hey guys, hey, today we are gonna take a minute and rebuild this regulator. You might want to grab yourself a drink. You might want to grab yourself some popcorn because it's gonna be a long video. It's gonna be a good solid 30 minutes. I would like to give a shout out to Rti Arms shop. They were kind enough to send us a regulator that was broken and not performing well. And I'd also like to give a shout out that has nothing to do with this video, but Orion, the Iguana hunter. He was kind enough to send me this magazine, which is working wonderful in my RTI. He knew I had a 30 caliber RTI that I was going to be playing with, and he sent this to me as a great thing. So once again, grab some popcorn, grab a drink, let's get started. All right, guys. Hey, I wanted to take a minute and go over the Rti Performance Regulator. I'm hearing about people that are having some problems with them doing their job. I'm hearing people say that they're a little wishy-washy at times, or the pressures will equalize in the two chambers. Sorts of things that you wouldn't hope for on a performance regulator. So I thought I'd take a minute and show everybody what I'm doing with the regulators. So maybe that it will help you understand how to take and maintain your regulator, and if you do have a little bit of wishy-washy in your regulator, maybe you can iron it out before you have to wait for a new one to come. So the first thing I do is I remove the regulator from the gun. You just depressurize it in the butt of the gun. There's a screw. You just loosen the screw and the pressure will come off it. It's a little slow. It takes a minute or two, so be patient. And then this is the bottle end right here, and this is the gun end. So you just begin by unscrewing it. One or the other will come undone. Generally speaking, the gun will come apart first, and then you can just hold this and then unscrew the bottle. So once you've got to this point right here, you obviously have no air on it, so we can begin disassembling it. So if you do have a leak around this area on the gun, then obviously it's going to be this O-ring right here. It's a very simple O-ring. You can go to rtiarms.com, and if you scroll down to the very bottom of the page, you'll see at the bottom where there's a place where you can find the manuals, and the regulator is not in the Prophet 2 or the Prophet 1 schematic. It has its own schematic down below, and I'll put a link to that for you. So I begin by taking an adjustable wrench and just loosening this right here. It's not very tight. And then just lift this little guy right off. This will pretty much will disassemble your regulator. You'll see all your little Belleville washers in there. Now this regulator it's a little sticky because you got an O-ring in there, so just grab it and pull it out. It'll come right out like this. This regulator was sent to me by Rti Arms shop. I reached out to him and says, "Hey, can I get a regulator that's giving you trouble? And I'd like to do a small video on it so that you could see what was involved." So once you get to this point, you've pretty much disassembled the regulator. There's a small check valve in here. If it were leaking back out through this hole when you fill it, you could take this out and clean it. It's just you've got a small bit of debris in there, and that just goes through here over to here, and then it just fills your bottle. So very, very, very simple. There's no need to disassemble it any farther than this unless you got a leak under the gauge. And you got a leak under the gauge, I recommend you just replace the O-ring. I've been using a 105X ring for mine, and it's been working out really well. And it's real simple. You would just put your adjustable wrench on the gauge, loosen it up. When you tighten the gauge back up, remember that it doesn't have to be tight because the O-ring underneath it does all the sealing. So when you orientate, just bring it around to till it's snug and its orientation. Don't keep tightening it because you'll just twist the gauge right off the end of the post. So when you get to this point, and obviously look down in here and inspect, see if there's any debris. So it looks like this one right here has a tidbit of debris in there. So let's start by cleaning that out. I like to use these little cotton swabs so you can get down in there and clean it out real good. This one, you can see a little bit on it there. The camera doesn't show it, but it's kind of gray. This looks like it's got a little texture in there, so we'll try and make sure that that's not, it's just the anodizing texture. I'll take a paper towel, roll it up in a nice wad. Don't use any solvents or anything. We don't want anything that's flash under pressure or flammable or anything in there. We want to just keep it clean. Okay, that looks really good. The camera really lets you look down in there good. I think what we're seeing is mostly just the anodizing texture. So the next thing I like to do is I like to inspect the edge of this for a burr. And when you look for a burr down in there, and you can take your cotton swab and just drag across it. You'll feel it if it's in there. This one doesn't have a burr, and you want to inspect for that in case there's a chance that it will damage the O-rings going in there. So we don't want to do that. So that looks really good. So that's pretty much the body. Remember this O-ring here. There's 2 O-rings, one under each gauge, and then there's the bottle O-ring right there, and then you have a couple of O-rings in here. If you want to see this part disassembled, let me know. We can add it to the video later, or do maybe a small video on that. I've never seen any problem there, so I'm not going to go into that. I want to just stick to where the problems have existed. So on this unit right here, it slides apart. You have your Belleville washers. You have this small bearing and its races for the adjustment. So if you look right here, you can see the thrust bearing has this small little groove in it. I'm trying to show it there best I can with the little bearing, and then the thrust bearing. So okay, now this part right here, you can disassemble it. Take your small wrench, they're not very tight, and a small pick, and it's not very tight, just loosen it up. This will unscrew just like this. So if you do need to get in here and clean some debris or some corrosion or something that might exist up in there, it's like that. Now there is an O-ring on the end of this guy right here. If you need to take him off and clean him, you can. Or if you're into the point to where you need to replace these. Now if you just have a regulator that's giving you some trouble, I'd always recommend going through and cleaning it before you stress out. These things are not that hard to work on, so I would not get too crazy. 90% of what I've experienced is just me. Maybe I used a water encrypted source. You know, if I was at a shoot and there was water in the compressor, or if a friend of mine, may have had something, or I ran into this where someone had dropped the fill in the dirt and they had wiped it off, but they hadn't cleaned the inside, so I didn't notice, and I walked up at a chute and I did that. So okay, so we've got a bearing in the end of here. If you need to get it out, you can just pick it out. It just picks out just like this. Very simple. It goes just like that. Now this guy right here has a small filter in him. He's designed to kind of help keep that, keep that filter so the air is filtered, so on and so forth. Okay, so we're gonna set him just over here, just a little bit on the edge of the camera so you can see it. We're gonna go over this one right here. There's a small O-ring on here. Take him off. And just give him a little squeeze. Squeeze there, get him off. We'll clean him up. See, this regulator is practically brand new. It just wasn't performing. I'm guessing it has some dirt or some water in it. So we're gonna set this over here. We're gonna clean this guy really well. Put him right over there. here on the edge of camera. Okay, we're going to go to this guy right here. He's got a little O-ring on him. Give him a little squeeze. Give him a little squeeze like this, so you can just get him off. Set him right there. This is our body. I'm just going to clean him up real nice. This set screw right here, you can take it out if you need to. This is your adjuster. This one doesn't really have any need for it. It's not like it had any gunk or anything in it. I'm just going to inspect it all. Look for a burr. Look for a burr right here. It's feeling pretty good. We're going to put a little O-ring back on there. Well, let's hold up there. We're going to go through and we'll get the lube out. And then we got this one here. His lube. Clean that O-ring. We'll set him right there. Okay, so on the bevel washers, I like to take, so this is 3M, 5 mil polishing paper. I like to take the bevel washers, and I like to polish them. If they get any burr on them, then what they'll do is their performance will suffer. So they're a small spring, they're mass produced. I mean, there's only so much that, you know, if you're putting these together all day long, you can do for each one of them. So they inspect them, but you know, it's tough. So I go through and I take and I polish them. See, like that one. You can feel if there's a little burr on the edge. You'll feel it just kind of like bite in. That one had a little burr. All we're gonna do is just take and polish it. I like to just polish it around. I don't know if you can see this on the camera or not. The paper's starting to get a little bit of brown on it from the washers, just polishing them. Sometimes you'll see a bit of corrosion. Ooh, here's a good one. This one right here. See if I can get the camera to. So wherever this regulator came from, you see the corrosion on it? Wherever this regulator came from, it was wet. There was water. There's a reason this failed. See the water sitting there on the edge of that? So somebody had a corrupted water source. And see if we can get the other side. Looks good, but you can see where right there you see the rust on the edge of it. So we can show one here. Like this one doesn't have the rust. You can see, ooh, it does have a little rust. I mean, the camera's really, oh no, it's oil, a little bit of oil on it. So okay. So I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna polish all these up real nice. I'm gonna just pause it so you guys don't have to watch this. Okay, now I've taken and gotten all the springs cleaned and polished with the paper. I wanted to bring in the paper and give you guys an idea. You can see how much debris has came off these springs right here. So it's pretty nasty there. So, but I wanted to take a minute and show you guys where to find the schematic for this. So I've gone to rtiarms.eu, and for the schematic you just need to scroll down to the bottom. You're going to go past everything all the way to the very bottom, past all of their literature and everything. You probably scrolled right over this and didn't even notice it, but if you go all the way to the bottom, if you go right down here, there's a files. Just go into the files. You're going to bring up your Prophet 2, your Priest 2, your manual for each of those, your Prophet, and just keep going down. This is where it takes just a minute. You have to go all the way down, and you're looking at the externally adjustable regulator. Just click on the exploded view. There we go. So now the Belleville washers are going to go in a pattern. We zoom this in so you can see the pattern right there. So two down, two up, two down, two up, two down, two up for the whole length of them. So very simple. Make sure you have all your bevel washers so that when you do this. So make sure there isn't one wasn't shorted from you, shorted from the factory by accident of some sort. Things happen. Let's be fair. I'm just going to take a second and put this set screw back in here so I don't misplace it. Okay. All right. So I like to use a little bit of this super lube. It's the multi-purpose silicone grease. So it works out really well. Just take a little dab of this, put it on the side so you can kind of do that. Okay, let's start by taking a little bit of grease, greasing up this O-ring right here. And I'm not saying get carried away, I'm just saying make sure that there's plenty of grease on all of them. Then this little guy will go back on here. And this little guy is going to go back on here like this. Okay. All right. Now this little guy, I'm just going to set him down for a sec because I need an extra hand. This little guy, we're just going to take a little bit of silicone grease. Once again, we're going to loop these O-rings up real nice. These are all the original O-rings. I'm not trying to say, hey, you got to buy all new O-rings. I'm just saying if your regulator's acting a little wonky, these guns aren't that old, so I can't imagine that the O-rings are going to go bad on you. They do. So if you're doing a rebuild, you do it just the same. You're not gonna reuse the O-rings. Okay, that little guy goes back on there. This little guy is going to screw back on here. Okay. Bring him down. Now this is just a snug fit. This doesn't have to get crazy. I'm just going to take my adjustable wrench here. I'm sure somebody will scold me for using an adjustable wrench on this little guy. I'm just going to put my pick in there and snug him up. Not tight. There's no need to have it tight. Okay. So now we've got that O-ring on. We've got this is our lower race. Make sure it goes down with the grooves up. And then this is your thrust bearing. It's going to go on next. Take a little bit of dab of grease. Pack your thrust bearing. So this is silicone grease, remember. So now we're going to take the other side of the thrust bearing. Remember, the grooves on this side are going to go down. So it's going to look like that. Okay. And per our drawing, when you double check your drawing, remember we're going to take and we're going to put 2 bevel washers down. So this is where we want to get a little bit of grease. Pick your bevel washer up, lube him up, put one on, pick another one up. See how I put the bevel washer tension down? It's going to go on there. Next thing here, a little bit of grease. Put the next one down. Okay, now we're going to go up. A little bit of grease. We're going to lube him up. Next one goes up. See how the space? Same thing here, a little bit of grease, lube him. He's going to go up. So the pattern is 2, 2, 2, 2. Now the next 2 are going to go right down facing them. So the tension washers will face them. This one will go down. This will go down. I did try looking in the machinery handbook to see if there was some sort of guide to know how much tension these have, but my machinery handbook is a little bit older, a lot older I should say, about 30 years old, and it just says bevel washers are available. It doesn't go into any kind of format of whether or not the bevel washers. So I'm following that pattern, 2 up, 2 down, 2 up, 2 down, until we get all the way up there. So it'll look just like that. Okay. It'll look just like that when you're done. You can see that. Looks really nice. Okay. Next, we're going to take this O-ring. It might be easier to put this O-ring in before. It doesn't matter. It just pushes in there. Very simple. Getting a little short on grease here. Okay, so I like to lube that one up really good. Lube this guy up really good. It's going just like that. Okay, I'm bringing the body over. And remember, we cleaned that real nice. We're going to tip him over. We're going to walk him down in there until he comes through just like that. This guy just like that. Very simple. I'm just going to set him down here for you. And I'm going to lube this guy up. Okay, lube him. Oop, got off the camera. I apologize for that. So I just slipped him on there. And then this little guy is just going to go. Now I like to put just a tiny bit of grease right here, because this is where your set screw is going to be driving against on those bevel washers. So we want to make sure that it lubes really nice. And this guy's going to go down on there. Get him in camera. Sorry. And this guy's just going to screw in there. Very simple, just like this. Got enough lube on here to our adjustable wrench. Now, this doesn't have to be tight. Just snug. That's why I use a small little wrench, because I try and demonstrate that it's not crazy. Okay, so there we go. That is put it all back together. Let me clean up some of the silicone, fingerprints all over it. Okay. All right, it looks really nice. Okay, so we're gonna take and put it on the tester. So I have this tester here that I've made just for this occasion. It screws on the end of our regulator. So like always, you got an O-ring here. We're just gonna put an O-ring here. We're just gonna put a little bit of grease on it because we want it to go in real nice. Bring it around. Put the regulator on it. Snug him up. He doesn't have to be tight. It's like even in the gun, the O-ring goes into that shoulder area up in the top. It does the sealing. The threads, they do the holding. So you literally can just have it loose wherever you want. So I'm just going to line it up so I can see everything in this thing. Okay. I'm going to put a little bit of grease on this O-ring. Okay. All right, so we're all ready. I'm going to bring the tank over from the gun. I'm going to put it on here. Let's once again snug it up. Okay, so we are all set to test this. Let me grab the air. All right, so now we're ready for some air. Okay, we're just going to... Okay, you have to have your little bleeder valve closed on your tester or it won't work. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, as you see there, you can see that the regulator is regulating at 0 because we didn't tighten that. Let's see where we're at here. So it's regulating below 0. We're about there. Okay, now looks like that's about where I'm at in the tank. So we'll start there. Okay, so the reason that we are not seeing any pressure on the regulator side is because it's set way, way low. As you can see over here, literally 0. So we're going to take our adjuster Allen and we're just going to slowly turn it up. Okay, we're starting to see it turn up. There's 50 bar. We're just going to slowly turn it up. There we're at 100 bar. We're going to turn this up. I'm gonna run this gun. I'm setting this on right about there. Let's give it just a minute to kind of equalize. So we're just gonna, let's dump a little air off real quick. Let's see what it does. Okay, so it's coming back up, looking good. I'm gonna bump this up just a little bit. There we go. You can see how much it takes. I literally only put like 15 minutes on it. Very little. Okay, so that gun looks like it's settling in right around 1800. Let's try and set this one about 2000. So that's gonna put us about that 135 bar, 2000. Okay, it's settling in there. Just below, it's looking like about 1950. We're just gonna simulate a couple shots and see what it does. Okay. All right, so it's coming right back there. So we got that good and solid set at, looks like about 1800. So, and the gauges are correlating very well. Mind you, I'm doing a bigger dump than a shot wheel. So that if you're gonna see an error in a regulator, you'll see it on a big dump because it has so much recovery. So yeah, about down there. I should have filled my tank up all the way before I did this, but as is life. Yeah, we're at my tank's full line right now. It's about all it's got in it. Okay, so anyway, so we took a regulator. This regulator was reported to me as the primary gauge and the secondary gauge were equal. And all we did is go through and clean it and take and do that. So I'm gonna pause it. I'm gonna fill up my air tank, and then I'm gonna come back and we're gonna fill this all the way up to 300 bar, just so that nobody can question that there's a coefficient there. I'd like you to know that this is a good to go regulator. Okay, I'm back. I just got the tank filled up. We're dang near to 300 bar. Guess I could. Push it all the way up there for you. Huh. There we go. Okay, good 300 bar. We're still holding over here on our regular gauge at that same 1900. So everything's starting to run really good. This was a regulator that they sent to me. Remember, that was having problems. It was equalizing between the two gauges. As they filled it up, they literally see them fill up together from what I was told. I didn't try it on the tester beforehand. I just figured we'd just dig into it together and get what we got. So sorry this is a long video. Hopefully it was helpful. If you like the video, please click like. If you want to see more content like this, let us know in our comments below. And if you wouldn't mind, we'd appreciate anybody that would subscribe to us. And have a good one. Thanks.